It was the only successful coup d'etat in American history. A city set on fire, a government overthrown, and hundreds of black citizens hunted in the streets. This is not fiction. This is Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898.
In Wilmington, North Carolina, which was the largest city in the state of North Carolina in 1898, was a very diverse town. It was 20,000 people who lived in Wilmington, North Carolina, and 11,000 were African Americans. These men were businessmen, shopkeepers, doctors, lawyers. They worked as the fire chief, aldermen. They unloaded cargo from ships. Very, very diverse community. In North Carolina, you had the Democrats and the Republicans. Republicans are the party of people of color. Democrats were part of their demographics was poor white farmers. So the poor white farmers and the African Americans who were voting Republican felt neither party was helping them. So they decided to create their own party. It's called the Fusion Party. Now, this is made up of African Americans and whites. So they decided to start voting as a block. And they started winning houses in the General Assembly and Senate. And in Wilmington, it was an integrated government. People around North Carolina did not like this. So newspapers, you have to understand, newspapers play a vital part in this story. So there was a gentleman named Mr. Daniels. Mr. Daniels owned the News and Observer. He started writing articles about how black men were, we'll just say, not being nice to white women. This spread around the state. The Democrats wanted to break up the Fusion Party, and they knew this was one way to do this. So men met and plotted on how they would overthrow the city government of Wilmington. Once again, that was a very interracial government. Fire chief was black, aldermen were black, and mayor was white. But this led to a lot of animosity toward the people of Wilmington. Remember, Wilmington is a very thriving city. Good seaport, good economy. African Americans were doctors, lawyers, shopkeepers, bankers, and there was a newspaper man named Alex Manley. And he plays a very, very important part in this story. Alex Manley owns the Daily Record. His advertisement was, it's the only daily African American newspaper in the United States. So Alfred Manley is a very light-skinned African American. He can pass for white, and that plays a very important part in this story. Now, the other newspaper, The Observer, is writing articles about black men harassing white women, raping white women, putting black men in a bad light. And they're constantly writing these stories. Down in Georgia, Rebecca Felton is a very well-known woman. She was a speaker. And in this speech, she said that white men cannot protect white women. So she's saying that white men aren't standing up to this accusation. So she said, hang black men, hang them all if you want to, hang them all. So Alex Manley reads this in the newspaper because her speech is published throughout the South. They're trying to really get people angry. The Observer, once again, had put black people in a bad light. So when Manley reads what Rebecca Felton writes about hanging black men in his newspaper, the Daily Record, he made a very controversial statement. And he said that white men have been raping black women for years. Nobody said anything. And white women sometimes want black men. Now, needless to say, there were some people who didn't agree with that. And some black men and women were actually mad at Alex Manley for writing that because they knew trouble was coming. Men in Wilmington started to gather together. There was a gentleman named Alfred Woodard. He was an old Confederate soldier, and he started making these speeches, just getting the crowds up, getting the crowds up. And over a number of days, white men started arming themselves. Matter of fact, white men had machine guns. Black men knew that trouble was coming. So they tried to arm themselves, and they were not allowed to buy guns nor ammunition. Now, this was also during the Spanish-American War. And it was an outfit of white soldiers and an outfit of black soldiers. Now, they're down fighting the war. And suddenly, the white soldiers are called back to Wilmington. The black soldiers stay and fight the Spanish-American War. So there's no one really to protect these black men. Enter the red shirts. Now, the red shirts are some very tough characters, and they're there to intimidate black men. Now, all the while, last two elections, the Fusion Party has only grown, and the Democrats said, we must take this over. So one way of stopping the Fusion Party from voting is to stop black men from going to the voting places. So the red shirts go around where you're supposed to vote. And white employers told black men, if you go to vote, you will not have a job. So on election day, needless to say, this was not a very good day for people of color. So this is election day, and black men are run out of town. The men who were officials, they were run out. Alex Manley is interesting. Now, Alex Manley, like I said, is very light-skinned, and he wants to get out of town. He wants to get out of town in a hurry. So he goes to one of his white friends, and he needed a code to get out of town, get past the roadblocks. So he gave Alex Manley the code so he could get out of town. His newspaper place was, we'll just say, kind of torched. Black men had to flee for their lives. So in the end, Alfred Woodard and the red shirts took over the city government of Wilmington, North Carolina, and that's the very first and only insurrection in the United States of America. Just want to add, that's the only insurrection of a town in the 1800s. Wilmington, North Carolina. So if you like this video, please subscribe. My name is Kenny with KB Tours in Washington, D.C. Hope you liked the video and have a great day.